Why don't we go down the list? Start with you, Pat. Pat.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to watching our offensive line against their defensive line. Now, we got some new guys up there, some younger guys, and Penn State has a pretty experienced defensive line, so it's going to be interesting to watch that, and keeping the quarterback off the ground and giving them some time to do things. So I think the line play is going to be really critical. And then the other thing is the third down plays. And actually first down I'll start with, because first down, we got to have some success on first down. You got to have at least 4.5 yards on first down, and then you're able to do some things and maybe get in a groove. And staying out of third and longs, managing third downs is going to be critical. Penn State's going to bring some heat most of the time, and your third 6 and plus. So you got to try to stay out of those situations. But I think if we can do that and manage the game, control the game, and punch them in the mouth up front, I think we're in good shape.
You also talked when we were talking, Pat, about Green at quarterback, Garrett Green, and talk a bit about. In fact, we had a conversation about Kevin's play back in '84, and Garrett sometimes gets to be a lot like Josh Allen. To basically, I don't want to say be a hero, but perhaps to extend himself beyond maybe my words. What's needed at the time. So could you talk about that?
Yeah, I appreciate what he tries to do. He's a believer in himself, that he can make every throw and he can make every play in every situation. He's learned to manage that a little bit. Throwing the ball away. Getting out of some plays that he should get out of. But he's got people around him. He doesn't have to go win a game by himself, and I think he understands that now. He looks. In the spring, he looked to his playmakers, getting the right people the ball, making the right reads, where he focused. Now, when he takes off the run, he can really stress the defense, which is great. But play within yourself, play within the team. Let your teammates win the game for you. You manage them to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gotten better at that.
Yeah, that's really important. Mickey?
Well, having played on the offensive line, my number one concern is how will our offensive line stack up against Penn State's defensive line, and how much success can we have in the run play and protecting Garrett in the passing play. I really think, it's trivia, but a lot of people always say it comes down to who wins the battle in the trenches. And having played in that position, I truly believe that. And, Penn State's got, I think, 15 all Big Ten conference players coming back. Most of those guys are on defense. So we've got our work cut out for us. We got somewhat of a revamped offensive line, but we have a very experienced offensive line as well. And I think we'll do well on the running attack and the passing attack. But a real key, I watched the Pittsburgh Steelers preseason game the other day. I think they were playing the Buffalo Bills, perhaps, but I watched Zach Frazier in particular. And that guy, as a rookie, did not miss a single assignment up through the third quarter. So if we can execute our assignments and each individual line person do what they're supposed to do and play together well as a team, then I think we can get a clear-cut advantage both in the running game and the passing game. The other point that Frank, you and I talked about earlier in the week is, Penn State's got a new offensive coordinator and they got a new defensive coordinator. And it does take some time for the players to understand and buy into whatever schemes those coordinators are choosing to run. And Pat, I'm sure you know that in your coaching days, you have to win over not only the minds, but the hearts of the players that, the scheme that you're talking about is actually going to work. So I think that's going to be real key as well. And then, the third thing I would mention is adaptability. How quickly, if we find out something's not working, or Penn State finds out something is not working, how quickly those coordinators can change, the schemes that they're running, either at halftime or before. I think those are going to be the three keys, as well, of course, as Garrett managing the game. If Garrett manages the game well, and if he's improved with his passing as much as everyone says he has, then we got a real shot. I'm looking for an upset, guys. I watched the Georgia Tech Florida State game over in Dublin on Saturday, and if we have a game plan like that, where Georgia Tech just came out, their offensive line took control of the game, and they end up winning 24-21. And Florida State was favored by 10.5. Penn State's favored by 8.5. So, I think if we can get it done in the trenches, we can win this game.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Mick, after you and I had that conversation, I said to myself, what about the special teams guy? He's new too. All three coordinators at Penn State, this is their first year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also learned that the guy that who is the OC, Andy Kotelnicki, who is at KU, actually Neil Brown played against him. And he said it was very difficult. It was the last game that Neil Brown was head coach at Troy. And Troy played Buffalo, University of Buffalo, in a bowl game. And Kotelnicki was the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bulls. And he said he was very, very difficult because he's so talented. And the other thing I think that really there's an advantage maybe for Penn State on the OC side is that he was at Kansas, so he has familiarity with the Big 12. But just one last point, Mickey, on the stack the box there, because when you and I talked, you talked a lot about that. So just say a few words about that.
Well, if I'm the defensive coordinator on Penn State and I look at West Virginia, I'm stacking the box. I'm putting 8 guys right between the hash marks, and you're going to have to prove to me that you can run the ball against my 8 best defensive players, all stacked right behind each other, with the singular focus of stopping the run. And I think, that's probably the strategy they come into the game with. They're going to stack the box. They're going to try to stop C.J. Donaldson. They're going to try to stop Jakeem. And if they do that, they, of course, force us into a passing game. And then it becomes a matter of, more times than not, you're playing behind the yard markers. And it's, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. Okay. You either get a completed pass, you get an incompleted pass, or you get an interception. So running the ball, statistically, you have a better chance of success because only one bad thing can happen to you, and that's fumble. So, I think they're going to stack the box, and we're going to have to, as Pat pointed out, I think we're going to have to do some great play mixing, throwing the ball, coming out with some play action passes on first down, and get that 4 or 5 yards on first down. So it opens up the field to what we'll be able to do.
Yeah, related to that, Pat, you and I talked earlier this week. You made a point, and I wrote it down. You said Penn State will give you things.
Yeah.
And that could connect to what Mickey is saying. But could you talk a bit about that? They will give you something.
They will when they bring their pressure, they're going to avoid zones, whether it be the flat or the middle of the field, the under routes, which in my mind, with what I'm looking at West Virginia's team, those under routes with the little speedy guys, man, you just got to get them the ball, get rid of the ball, get them the ball, and let them do what they do. I think Penn State, their defensive line had been a little bit undisciplined, so their rush lanes, I think Green can take advantage of those and run and pick up some first downs and really hurt them. That's the one area I know Penn State's defensive line has worked hard in their rush lanes and their discipline. So Green may be able to exploit that. I hope he doesn't make a habit of it, but I think he can exploit that. But their secondary is coached very well at Penn State. So when they play their man to man, they're going to be stuck to you like glue. So I know some of the route combinations and the concepts there for man to man are they've worked hard on there in Morgantown. So they give you man to man, you got to make them pay. We got to find a way to make them pay. If they're going to give you the flat, we got to get those guys the ball quickly and let them turn up field and do some things with the football.
Yeah, that leads into your first line there, Greg, about the passing attack. And one of the things that Brown talked about in his presser on Tuesday was two guys that he's been losing sleep over, those defensive ends. Sutton and Carter are outstanding, but you got to be creative. So your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought, following up on Mickey's point about them stacking the line, I think it's going to happen as well. But on the bright side of that is that if you get through that first wave rushing the ball, you're going to have some big gainers against that stacked line because there's nobody else to tackle you once you get past the line. And my point was about the passing was it doesn't have to be, you're not talking about a whole game where we pass for 450 yards or whatever it may be. We have to be able to use, strategies in the passing game where you're dumping the ball off, screen passes, short passes, because that blitz is going to be so heavy. And I think that's going to be key to how we, I wouldn't say disguise our passing attack, but how we run our passing attack, where we're hitting short hitters, again, dumping off to the backfield, that sort of thing, screen passes, because I think they're going to be coming. I think they want us to pass, and they're going to get up in the line and try to force us to pass. But I don't think it's necessary that if we come out and we see a 7-man line that we automatically think we got to throw the ball, because like I said, if you can break that line of scrimmage on a run play, there's a lot of open field after that. If you got everybody up on the line, you get through on that good run play, you're going to be able to move the ball. And I think that's going to be a big key. I think our creativity in the passing game, our timely runs, our blocking on run plays, I think that's going to be key. And I also mentioned, of course, the special teams. Last year we gave up several games. We gave up long TD runs, returns on kickoffs, and I think that's been a focus of practice this year. I think our punter's very good. I think our kickoff guys probably improved. We can't afford to give up any big plays on special teams because, when you play a good, solid team like a Penn State, you can't make mistakes and still win. And so I think our special teams will be important in that area as well, because you just can't give up those those touchdowns on kickoff returns and that sort of thing. And we did it a few times last year. We had some struggles with that. So I think that'll be key for us to keep them in check. But I really think that I think our defense is going to be fine. I think our defense is going to be good. And Mickey mentioned too, watching the Georgia Tech Florida State game and talking about the upset, that he felt like West Virginia could win this game. Well, I feel like they could win it too. And the only reason these games are upsets is because, they ranked Florida State number 10 based on last year. They don't have Georgia Tech ranked. They rank Penn State, whatever they're ranked. They don't have West Virginia ranked. So that's it's an upset because the ESPN talking heads say it's an upset. But I think West Virginia is good, and I don't know that if they beat Penn State, it's necessarily going to be an upset. I think these teams are good, and a lot of these teams are, like I said, Florida State and those type of teams sometimes a little bit overrated. And I think the ESPNs and the networks want them to be good. They want Penn State to be good. They want Michigan to be good. They want Ohio State to be good because that's their money makers. But I don't know that these games are necessarily upsets this early in the season because nobody knows how good these teams really are. So hopefully West Virginia can just come out, play solid, and win the game. And I think they're going to.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. And that's why, and I've talked with a number of people about this, the predictions, particularly before the season starts, there's nothing really to base it on. But we do know, and this is in your second point there, is you've got returning running backs who have proven they can run against very, very tough defenses in Nick Singleton and Keytron Allen. They're going to run. we can't let them run downhill. And I agree with you on this. And there's some data that I pulled together on kickoff coverage. And this has been an issue, and we covered this during spring ball. We just, the coaches said we just can't repeat this. WVU was number 125 nationally on kickoff defense in 23. Only 22 touchbacks. And one of the things that Coach Brown has talked about in his pressers, particularly earlier in the fall, was how Hayes' leg is getting stronger. You can't have 22 touchbacks, and you can't give up 1,100 yards on kickoff returns with 3 touchdowns, 90 yards or more. So they've talked a lot about this. I think you're right, Greg. On the other side, kick return offense and punt return offense, we've got real speedsters there, and they've been very pleased with that. The last thing I would say is Drew Aller may have had his best game of the year in the opener against WVU. He had trouble against Michigan and Ohio State. Those are great teams, we know. Michigan won the national championship, but he had 75% of his passes. 3 of those receivers feasted on us. There was 1 long touchdown run, and it was just, he had too much time in the pocket. And so we've got to put pressure on him. We've got to have much better coverage.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. You just get, when you have a good team like this, there's a lot of things that, that make them a good team, and you can't do things to make it easier on them to be a good team, and I know that sounds kind of silly to say that, but you can't give up a 95-yard kickoff return. You can't give up a 60-yard punt return. You've got to play those parts of the game solid and don't make mistakes like that, turn the ball over, that sort of thing. You just can't do that against a good quality team. And I think that's the key. You've got to take care of the simple things that you normally take care of, and then play solid on offense and defense, and you'll be fine.
I'll go first. I'm going to shock you, because I've been saying for over 4 months now we're going to shock the world.
That's right.
Basis on the fact that I really think that Neil Brown is due for another upset. He upset LSU in Baton Rouge when he was at Troy, and he's got it in him to do it. And I think we're going to do it, and I think it's going to be big. I'm saying West Virginia 37, Penn State 24.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, guys.
There you go. All right, I'll make mine. So we'll let Pat go last. Okay, how about that? All right,
Okay.
Good. I think West Virginia's going to win the game too, and I don't think it's going to be an upset. I think West Virginia's going to be better than they are. And again, I always say these upsets are only upsets because Kirk Herbstreit and people like that say they're going to be upsets, and they're the ones who decide that. I think we're a better football team. I think we're going to win. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than what Mickey predicted. I think we're going to go 31-27 WVU.
I've got we're going to have Pat go left. I've got 28-24 WVU.
I got 27-16 West Virginia.
I like that. All
right.
Yeah. All right. So we're all going WVU. That sounds good to me.
Oh, I'll tell you, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just think it's exciting, and to see WVU back in back to where we're expecting to win is so refreshing, because we've had several years now. Even last year, you went into games and you worried about, can we even win this game? What are we going to do to screw up? Back when Pat was up there, we knew we were going to win. We went in thinking how much we're going to win by. So that's awesome, and everybody's excited about it. Yeah. And I don't think we're the only ones. I think that's just a feeling. I mean, I'm in Morgantown every day. You can sense a different vibe.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people are feeling it. So we're hopeful that rolls over into the game. Just have to wait and see. But man, I can't wait.